Hey, how's everybody doing this morning? I just got a call from my buddy, good friend of mine from back in the day. He told me, I've been watching that video, that epic rant video. I've watched it 30 times, 40 times. I'm laughing out loud. And the thing is, I actually feel a little guilty about it to a certain extent. But like I said in the video, I'm done. It's over, blah, blah, blah. Uh, Part of the conversation came up and he had to go to work and I got to get to work, but part of that whole thing is that the person who's upset is upset about a video I did earlier where I kind of talked about something that happened to him. But the broader point I made in the video, which had nothing to do with him, he's unable to separate that. That's what he's most upset about. Is something I still stand by, which is, and I'm going to actually augment that right now, is that I believe that when you're young is when you learn your social skills. And I think that when you're young, it's good for you to get into some sort of confrontation, some sort of physical confrontation. You say the wrong thing to the wrong person, you get cracked in the head, that sort of thing. I'm not saying I'm condoning violence or anything. I'm just admitting that that's part of the real world. It's great if you could live this super safe world and never be confronted by it. But if you're not confronted by it when you're young, and then you are confronted by it when you're older, like as an adult, now you don't have the skills to deal with it properly. And I don't do this a lot, but this morning I was watching YouTube videos like the Karen videos and the people getting owned, doing the wrong thing or straight up criminals or whatever and then getting caught. And they're funny videos, man. They're funny to watch. And all of those people that are in those videos didn't learn the skills I'm talking about. That's why. And it made me think about, like, is that it, or is it also maybe probably the military, and in particular the Marine Corps? I'll tell you something. The way that they train you, just take boot camp. Forget about how much time you put in. Just what you go through to become a Marine, where DIs are in your face, screaming at you, and you have to just take it. So what that does is it desensitizes you to that sort of shock and awe with somebody in your face. So that years later, doesn't matter, decades later, if some jerk on the street gets in your face and starts screaming at you, using racial slurs at you, whatever, you're just going to look at them like, and, you're not going to let words bother you, right? So that matures you in a different way. And it's one of those benefits. You could ask, young kids ask me all the time about what's it like being in the Marines, or being a Marine, or doing this or doing that. And I think that that's one of the overlooked benefits of having been in the service. And I just wanted to make that point. I was talking to my sister the other day because we were talking about our mother. She's 11 years younger than me, so even though as bad as she had it, she really didn't have it as bad. Not that it's a competition, but my mother was, out of her mind, man. She was. Nobody's all bad. Nobody's 100% evil. But my mom was pretty bad. There was many, many times in the morning before school, she'd come in the room and just flip out, man. She could grab a drawer out of the top of the dresser full of stuff and pull it out and fling it across the room and hit me with it, with all the stuff in it. You know, there was a TV show, Space 1999, and I had the spaceship. It was probably about this big. And it wasn't something you flew around. It just sat there and it opened up and you had the little people in it and everything. She took that thing one time and swung it, and I turned my back and she just broke it over my back. And then I had to go to school. When I was younger than that, the wooden spoon thing. I mean, you all know, right? The shoes, the belts, the whatever, jump rope, whatever was around got grabbed. This is the funny thing about my mom. Being a child in my household was like being in Marine Corps boot camp. The yelling, the screaming in your face, the physical violence and all that. And the crazy thing was when I was in boot camp and they were doing that. Or somebody left their footlocker open and dumped it and kicked everybody's footlockers all across the room, yelling, screaming, and you got 2 minutes to get this shit back together. And blah, 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 blah. To me, that was like a Tuesday when I was 8. You know, Tuesday morning, 8 years old. That was it. That was how it was. So, you know what I mean? Even the defense, like learning how to defend yourself against stuff. Improvised weapons. One mind, any weapon. My mom had that, man. If there was something right there, boom, bam, bam. Okay. I mean, I learned as a young kid when that wooden spoon got swung at me, if I turned quick enough, just right, she was always aiming at my ass cheek, I'd get her to crack it on my hip bone. And after she went through 3 or 4 of these wooden spoons, that didn't happen anymore. It was something else. All that stopped. When I'm trying to think, it could have been as late as junior high. I was probably 13 years old. Yeah, probably about 13 years old. And I was sitting next to her on the sofa one day, and I wanted to do something, and she didn't want me to. And she grabbed me by the shirt, and she shook me. I just about had enough out of you. And I got up, and I grabbed her by here, and I picked her up into my face. I said, I just about had enough out of you. Boom. I threw her back into the sofa, and I went upstairs to my room, and my dad was there, and he saw the whole thing, and he came upstairs, and he had this real short thing with me, like, you can't do that to your mother. But he knew. He knew what was going on, and he knew that I was actually right to do that. So after that, no more bullshit. Ever. All right? She knew. And that's the lesson. That's the point of this video. If people are pushing you, you have to stand up for yourself. This turn the other cheek thing, it's nice in theory. But if you turn the other cheek and that person is evil or crazy and they're going to keep pushing you, who's going to help you? Who's going to help you? Because it's not the meek that are going to help you. It's people with a mindset or have the job, the police, whatever, who are going to eventually step in to try to help you. And then that creates all kinds of other problems too. I'm at this house doing this work. There's 2 boys, 8 and 10. And the 8-year-old, from time to time, he'll antagonize his older brother. And the older brother, he's such a nice kid. He's real sweet. And so he doesn't really fight back. He just starts crying or whatever. And it happened one day. And the next day, because, you never want to engage with anybody when it's happening right at that moment. When the emotions are happening, that's the dangerous place to be. All right? Always better to wait till the emotions have subsided, and then you can have a rational conversation, if that's possible. And so the next day, I was talking to him. He's like, yeah, he was being real mean. I don't know. Sometimes I just want to punch him in the face. And I said to him, well, you might have to do that. He's going to keep pushing you until you stand up for yourself. And after you stand up for yourself, he's not going to push you anymore. Or if he does, at least he knows what the repercussions of that will be. And he got it. Now, I don't know if he's going to do it. I'm not encouraging it. I'm just telling him. I told the mother that too, and she understands. So I also told him, I said, this never stops. This never stops. When you go off into the real world and you grow up, as you grow, at every different stage of your life, there is a likelihood at some point that somebody's going to push your buttons. Which, by the way, doesn't mean the retaliation from you has to be a physical one. All right? I'm just saying, if somebody's pushing you, you have to stand up for yourself. If you don't stand up for yourself, then everybody else is going to think they can walk all over you, and in particular, that one person. Now, if you're not the type to stand up for yourself, that doesn't mean you have to continue taking abuse. It means you can actually walk away. If it's possible, you got to cut that person out and you got to walk away. That's just how it has to go down. There's something else in the back of my head I want to say, and there's so many things when I do these videos. I never know what I'm going to say or how I'm going to say it. But I think that's pretty much the gist of it. There's been many times where I'm out in public and there may be somebody acting a fool, as they say, and I will observe it. And if I feel like it's escalating to a point and I see nobody else is doing anything about it, then I'm the one who steps in. And I've done this many times. I've had plenty of fights in my life, just in different situations. But like in a public place, like a restaurant or something like that, oh man, I'm having a couple memories flashing me. I used to go to Barney's Beanery all the time, and my friend Dominique used to run that joint. And there was a guy in there one day who was upset about something. I have no idea what it was about, but he was a loudmouth jerk, cursing, making a scene. I had went in there with, oh yeah, this guy's like my cousin, kind of, the Greek guy. Vic, if you're watching this, it was the first time we ever hung out up here, and I took him to Barney's. And we walk in, and this incident's happened. And I say to Vic, excuse me for a second. And I get up and I say to the guy, hey, you got to go. You got to go. I stand him up. Now, this guy was a little bit, so I did put my hand on the back of his upper arm and escort him to the door. And he starts mouthing off. We get to the door, and he's like, he starts threatening me like with losing my job or something. And I looked him right in the face, and I said, I don't work here. You need to go. And he got the point there. I don't work here. So if you keep pushing me, you're going to get cracked one. I had a thing one time in Venice. This was crazy. I think I can't remember the streets, and it's like one of the most popular corners. It's where the Venice sign is, where the big Venice sign is right there on the street. Is that Venice Boulevard, where it meets the ocean there? So there's this Asian restaurant on the corner there, and I'm minding my own business, and I'm eating, and I see this guy. You can't miss him. He was gigantic. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. Well over 6'5". Certainly taller than 6 feet 5 inches. Tall dude. And sorry, it sounded like something was right behind me. And he's wearing, this is crazy, but it's the truth. He's wearing silk pajamas. He's wearing a gold chain. He's barefoot. And his feet are really dirty. He's like a homeless Hugh Hefner, is what he is. He's a homeless Hugh Hefner. And he walks into this place, and keep in mind, it's an Asian restaurant, right? So everybody's really tiny. Everybody works there, little teeny tiny people. And he starts yelling about his computer being stolen and something along those lines. And he's just speaking nonsensical gibberish. And I look over and I see that the people who work there are scared. The people in the restaurant are scared. And I'm watching and I'm watching and I'm waiting, because if he doesn't, in my mind, if he's not going to engage in physical violence, there's not anything I can do. I don't want to jump in and possibly hurt the guy or get hurt myself, or I don't want one of my action to possibly cause that person to do something to hurt somebody else. So I'm trying to assess the situation, and I'm seeing where everybody is. I just thought of another one when I was in Greece too. You'll like that one. And and he gets to the point where there's a break in the counter, and he steps behind the counter, and he's like nose to nose, like he's bending down with this little guy that works there. That's when I got up, and very loudly, like, hey. And he gets up, he looks at me, I said, you got to go now. And he steps up and he gets in my face. And I looked at him, I said, this ain't going to go down the way you think it's going to go. You need to leave. And he takes a couple steps towards the door, and he stops, he looks at me, and I'm just looking at him. And he doesn't say anything, but he's thinking. You see the process going. And I go, keep going. I didn't put a hand on him. Get a little closer, door. He stops, and he looks at me again. And I'm staring right at him. We get outside, and I'm standing there, and his lip is twitching. And I said, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. My lip twitches too when I want to hit somebody. I think you should do it. But I'm telling you, it ain't going to go down the way you think it's going to go. This is true. I got a whole restaurant of witnesses. And he puts his head down. He says something as he mumbles and starts yelling and screaming as he walks away. I go back in. Everybody applauds. They offer to pay for I already paid for my food, so I didn't take anything. No dessert, nothing. It didn't matter to me. But that's the thing. That's the sort of thing I do. I was in Greece. There's countless stories like this. Of course, this is just me telling you a story. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's up to you. But I think my friends will tell you I'm not a bullshit artist. I'm in Greece, and my cousins thought, it was the first time we ever really hung out, and they thought it would be fun to take me out to like some strip joint or something. But this is the mountains of Greece. This is not Vegas or LA or something. So the first place they take me was, it was some dark place in some little village, and it was disgusting. There's pictures of it. Probably, I know I have pictures somewhere. I couldn't share them here. But there was this lady, and she had to be like in her 40s or something, and she just had a belly on her and just floppy, and they were out, and she's just trying to flirt hard and make money. I'm sure she would have, you could have paid her for sex, that sort of thing, and it just grossed me out. I was like, guys, what are you doing? Well, let's get out of here. This is not my kind of thing. So then they take me to some other place and another little village. Now, this place, this was like Russian mafia place. And all the girls, and this is pretty a sad story, actually. I haven't even thought of this in years. Uh, this beautiful blonde Russian girl. My cousins have her come over. This worked with like a card system. You had some sort of chit card that you pay a tip for them to talk to you or dance or whatever. And then they would take that and give it to their boss so that they're doing their job. Now, I don't know this at the time. I don't understand what's going on. All I know is she comes over and starts talking to me and being all nice, and I'm not that guy. I'm not a big strip joint dude. I've been in them, obviously. Most of the time, I knew the girls that were working there, that sort of thing, and I'm not the type to sit at the stage and be throwing money and like, I don't care about that sort of thing. I'm not a lap dance guy, not that kind of dude. So I was uncomfortable because something wasn't right. And this is what this is slavery. These girls get taken from their town, they pay to leave, and then they get taken to a place like this, and they got to work this off. It's indentured servitude is what this situation was, or worse. And because I had kind of pushed her away, but I didn't do the card thing, she was getting in trouble now. And some guy was managing the joint, which is some big Russian dude, comes over and he starts arguing with my cousins, and they're speaking Greek, and it's all Greek to me. I don't speak Greek. But I'm standing there like, okay, this looks like, there's other people here that work here. This looks like it might get dangerous. And I find myself moving the furniture out of the way. Those tall bar tables and chairs, I'm literally picking them up and moving them. I'm moving the furniture out of the way because I think this is about to get into like a fight with the three cousins. One's just a friend, two cousins, and me, right? So there's four of us, and there's 3 or 4 guys that work here. I see this in my mind like we're about to have a serious brawl. And the guy arguing with my cousins, he's really intense about it. And then he glances up and he sees me moving the furniture out of the way. So he sees that. He looks at them and he says, just go. And that was the end of it. It is funny, man. It's funny. I don't know. I'm just having these memories popping in my mind as I'm looking at a camera right now. Anyhow, my point is, benefit of the military is, in particular the Marine Corps, you're going to get screamed at in your face. You're going to be pushed into doing physical things against perfect strangers, that you just met and you're training with. You're going to become brothers with. And it toughens you up mentally and physically, obviously. And then later in life, for the rest of your life, that training never goes away. So you're less apt to be provoked into a violent situation. And verbally, you're way more astute, right? So if somebody is giving you shit, I had a girl here, my neighbor, you might remember in an older video from over a year ago, she's really out of her mind. She tried to kill herself. She jumped off of a bridge onto the 101 freeway, and she lived. And now she's back. But they had to do plastic surgery on her and everything. Unfortunately, she didn't get any better. And the other day, I was talking to somebody she couldn't see. He was sitting behind a tree at the end of the walkway here. And I'm just sitting there like this, and I'm talking to him, and we're having a good time. And she comes out. She's upset. The scenario was she was arguing with the manager, who was also outside beyond me, around the corner, on his phone. She knew that. I didn't. And she comes out, and I see her. And she takes a couple steps. She sees me. She stops. She takes a couple steps. She goes behind a bush. She looks at me. She comes back. What I realize now is that she perceived me as blocking her path, which I wasn't. I was just there having a conversation with a guy, but she didn't understand that. But again, this is another person who's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You know what I'm saying? So she comes by, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know if she's upset with me. And I have said hi to her a few times since she got back, and she's been kind of kind about it. Like, she'll smile, but that's like twice in the last 6 months, so I don't know. She walks by me, and she says, F you, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. She keeps going. She comes back, and she goes past me, and, oh, no, that's not what happened. I'm sorry. She walks by me, and I said hi, very pleasantly. And then She said, F you, blah, blah, blah. I was trying to be nice to her. She comes back, she goes past me, and before she goes into her thing, she goes, "You're standing there like an asshole." I'm like, what are you talking about? And then she calls me, the C word. Don't want to say it because it's YouTube. And to which my retort was, "You are what you eat," which, slams her door. But that's my point. That sort of training puts you in this mental state where you don't allow your emotions to override, so you can still, cogently navigate the situation. Right? Your cognitive abilities are not going to be impacted by your emotion, and that's one of the best things about going to Marine Corps boot camp in particular. I can't speak to the other branches because I wasn't there. So that's what I wanted to say. I think that if you grow up and you didn't experience any sort of violence or getting picked on or having to defend yourself, and you are nervous, this is aimed more towards young people. If you are nervous about being a man, like what it's going to take or whatever, go to man school, enlist in the military, because you're going to get those skills, and that will stick with you for the rest of your life. So I don't know how to tie all that into a nice, neat little package for you here at the end of this video, but I still stand by everything I'm saying. So stand up for yourself. All right? Don't be a wimp. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Learn how to defend yourself, do some training, whatever it takes. But, self-respect, man, it's earned. Anyhow, have a good day. Be kind to one another. If you're kind, if everybody would be kind, we wouldn't need this. But unfortunately, that's not the way the real world is. I'll catch you guys in the next one.